Hey guys, it's Notorious Peckernet Ron D Bar coming to you with another BS video. I don't even live in Clarksburg. I'm gonna talk to you about Clarksburg stuff, and I don't even live there. Matter of fact, I don't even live on the same continent. I don't live in North America. I don't live on the same side of the ocean. I moved to Germany. I always heard it's a great day to live in Clarksburg. If you don't like it, leave. So I did. I'm over here living my best life. There's been times my legs are sore and I don't want to walk up that hill. I don't want to walk to the bus stop. I don't want to walk there. Last couple of days, I've run into obstacles due to the fact I don't speak the language yet. But I just remind myself, this is what you chose. This is what you wanted. You wanted this built environment. No regrets yet. I'm so relaxed and happy. Uh, Germany, to me, is what America could be had we not followed the plan of Robert Moses, Le Corbusier, um, auto industry, petroleum industry. We could have been a lot smarter. I'm here, like I said, living my dream. Uh, Another thing I notice, I'm walking a lot more, minimum 6 miles a day, sometimes 12 or 13. I'm eating better, eating less. I don't feel guilty having a beer. It doesn't bother me. I don't get the blood sugar drops like I used to. I got this beer here I picked up earlier. Says in too deep. I've heard that before. Not bad. I'm going to limit my Clarksburg content to maybe one good video every month or two. I just try to compile the different things I learn into a notepad document, pull out things related to one theme, organize them, and present one good video. It might be longer than what I plan, but that's what I want to do. One and done, and not get down to the nitty gritty feeling like I'm reacting to current events in Clarksburg. You have your life, I have mine. The formatting's not great right now because I'm working on a laptop from an Airbnb. Hopefully it'll get better. This episode is going to be about the effects of COVID on the commercial real estate market and how that relates to downtown revitalization, specifically in Clarksburg. First of all, I want to introduce this concept of trip chaining. It's not one I knew until recently. I knew kind of about it, but I didn't know specifically about it. United States, Canada, Australia, we live a little bit differently than our European cousins did back in the old country. We have so much more land and relatively fewer people. And Americans, especially, we're spread out. We build our towns, our cities, spread out to where you have to drive to everything. That's what I was running away from when I came here, okay? I don't like that. As a result of that, Americans usually structure their time in the car so that they can run their errands on the way to and from work. Grocery stores, restaurants, other businesses accommodate this by locating near office parks along major commuter routes. This has been going on in Clarksburg since 1960s, almost 60 years. You think a lot of people who lived out Laurel Park, Laurel Valley, West Milford area, especially getting in the 1970s, that really blew up out there. And say you work at Dominion or you work at UHC and you're on your way home, you're going to stop at Rosebud Plaza. You're going to get your prescriptions filled there. You're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to try to get as much done right there. Marsh Lumber. You're not going to want to drive back into downtown or whatever. So this is really advantaged suburbs and what we call sprawl. However, in the post-COVID economy, beginning with COVID and continuing afterwards, a lot more people are working from home. And even since COVID ended, some of the trends have persisted. Meals eaten near the office have fallen 20%, while meals eaten near home have increased by 30%. What I mean there are dine-out facilities. Let's say you live in Staley and you want to get out of the house and get lunch and meet some friends or something. You don't want to drive all the way out to Jerry Dove if you're working from home. You prefer to find something downtown Clarksburg. This is happening overall across the United States. So we, traffic engineer or planner might say personal miles traveled has decreased across most of the United States. People aren't making these long commutes to an office park, at least not every day, which means when they go out to eat, they pick a local option, maybe side of the road diner, mom and pop store, even just a small Dollar General instead of going to Target or something. It's true across most of the United States except the Sun Belt. That's, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina a little bit, Florida. These have large cities made up of what used to be Yankees. They've all sprung up since the 1960s. A lot of the area has been built out since the 1990s. And it's been planned and zoned, so there aren't these local amenities. There aren't these little side of the road stores. You live out in your HOA suburb, and you got to drive. You got to drive to get to Target. You got to drive to get to Applebee's or wherever you're going. They don't have a choice, and as a result, they're driving just as far as they ever were. I think Clarksburg faces a similar dilemma, maybe slightly different reasons, but the powers that be in Harrison County chose to make East Point, Jerry Dove the focus. Everything's out there. If a teleworker prefers local options, he really doesn't have any. From about 2012 to 2016, I worked out of my home in Staley. I tried to keep it local and patronize local businesses. It was hard. It was very, very hard. And it's only gotten worse since then. And I think the changes in the economy kind of tips the scale back a little bit more in Clarksburg's favor, or at least not so much in Bridgeport's favor. We're not swimming against the current like quite as bad as we used to be. But if there's a lot of momentum, there's a lot of water under the bridge, over the dam, so to speak. A lot of history there. If we want to pull it back this way, change people's minds, get people interested in investing in Clarksburg, it's going to take intentional, persistent effort. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take sitting down and thinking before you do the work. Okay, so the next thing we need to think about is inflation, higher wages, labor shortages. Dining and drinking establishments, they just continue to suffer from higher wages and inflation. It's hard to plan your business if you don't know what your costs are going to be in the future. You don't know what you have to bring in now to pay for future goods and services. You think back about 20 years during the second Gulf War and how oil prices just skyrocketed. All these little gas stations along the side of the road you see in rural areas of West Virginia, there were so many more when I was younger, and they're gone now because inflation killed them, or inflation of the price of oil just killed them. The same thing's going on now within bars and restaurants. They don't know what the price of food is, and also there's just fewer people that are willing to work for the prices that, or the wages they used to earn. There's a labor shortage. Some of that's due to COVID, falling immigration, different things like that. If you're unable to pay the higher wage, you don't have workers. This is not just an American problem. I'm seeing it in Germany. I'm out in this little suburb. It's only a couple miles out of downtown. But I was looking on phone, saw a couple restaurants I want to check out, and I walked up to them. One of them was closed because it's Monday, and others are just closed for good. And comments on the internet said, "Man, I wish this place was still open. We need more entertainment options out here." Way out here, 2 miles from downtown. I mean, but my point is, entertainment districts have been a cornerstone of American urban revitalization planning doctrine for decades now. The idea has been that you go into a decayed neighborhood or downtown with a bunch of empty storefronts. Those storefronts are cheap. You get some bars in there. The housing is cheap. Archie type people will work in those bars, rent that cheap substandard housing, and eventually it becomes a cool place, and people with money start wanting to visit, start moving in, and it gentrifies, and your tax base increases. If that's not going to work anymore because of the effect of inflation and labor shortages on bars and restaurants, we might have to rethink how we do everything, and that includes Clarksburg. Third thing I want to talk about is mass transit, central bus services. I must say up front, this is my own thinking. I didn't read this anywhere. I'm fully aware that this comes as a result of me hoofing it around this town, riding buses, and realizing just how more efficient this way of life is. It may not be feasible in America. I'm throwing it out there. We're talking about high wages, labor shortages. I just want to say a service worker who lives in Clarksburg might be willing to work for less in Clarksburg than they would be in Bridgeport. A service worker who wouldn't even be willing to work at all if they had to work in Bridgeport might be willing to work in Clarksburg because they don't have to pay for the bus tickets. They don't have to wait outside in the elements. They don't have to give up an hour of their day or more changing buses and riding on a crowded bus at certain hours of the day. And our buses don't run all the time. You know, that they can't work at night unless they want to walk. By the way, last number I saw was there's over 400 service workers live in Clarksburg, work out along the interstate, whether East Point, Cherry Dub, Bridgeport, somewhere like that. 400 people. That's more than most city council candidates get. That's more votes. It's a significant part of our population that rides a bus to work every day. And on top of that, you have people from the outlying areas funneling through downtown Clarksburg because that's where they change buses. You got the poor and elderly. They can't drive. They need to shop. Maybe they need to get to UHC, the VA hospital. They come through downtown Clarksburg. They don't have a lot of money, but it's a little bit extra demand for retail and dining downtown. It's also, all of this is a lot more labor supply available in downtown Clarksburg conveniently. It's an angle, I don't know how you'd work that, but it's there. Someone with more tact and intelligence and social intelligence could do that maybe. The point I want to drive toward is the city needs to stop seeing Centra as some kind of burden that we have to bear. This unsightly bus stops, rip the benches out to keep people from congregating there. And see it as instead of an opportunity to help our citizens get ahead in life, a little bit of extra demand, a little bit of extra labor supply. I think we'd be ahead to see it that way. A fourth related thing I've seen to downtown economies, downtown revitalization, is the rise of online banking. This has been coming for a while. COVID really kicked it into high gear. Pretty much every bank, every investment firm in existence, even in Europe, have moved to online banking. When I was here 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago on vacation, Europe was behind the United States in the move to online banking, the acceptance of credit cards. COVID changed all of that. And one of the results is that the number of bank branches is much lower than it used to be. They're moving away from physical locations. Not only banks, investment brokerages, investment advisors. This is already happening in Clarksburg sometimes for different reasons. I don't think there's a stockbroker left in downtown Clarksburg. And Chase left that big empty building there. I don't know what we can do to change this. I can't think of a single thing to even mitigate this problem. It's just a reality that we're going to have to accept. Kind of a related note, I think cities should favor local banks as much as it can because that means more revenue staying in the local economy instead of leaking out to a regional headquarters or processing center in Cincinnati or Pittsburgh, New York, Philadelphia, Boston. We should try to keep as much capital local as we can. I'm 6 hours ahead, so the sun's starting to go down here. I'm a little bit further north also. It looks like I got a stain or a wet spot on my shirt. It's just a shadow. I want to talk to you about the fifth item, number 5, the flight to quality in office space. There's a lot of empty office space on the market right now because folks ain't coming back to the office. And some businesses are going under and downsizing. It's not just business. The federal government has a disgusting amount of office space available. They tried to crack the whip and told government workers, okay, it's time to come back to back into the office. And they found out government workers said, I can make a lot more money in the private sector. I'm just in for this for the pension. If you make me drive to the office every day, I'm leaving. And a lot of them did, especially contractors. And as this more space will become available as leases expire. A lot of companies are currently stuck with leases that they signed for multiple years. And when they look for smaller space, they're going to be looking for newer buildings or better office space because there's a glut of supply on the market right now. Newer space, meaning the last 10, 20 years, is going to be preferred. One simple reason is that even modern office buildings built in the 80s are horrible for wireless and other technologies. They just weren't designed with that in mind. Maybe they didn't have the open floor plan in mind. You have to do a lot of gutting and remodeling. So there's going to be a high demand for newer buildings unless the old building's in a good location, a hip location. I've seen when I was just recently living in Dayton, a lot of those old buildings dating back even in the 1870s, early iron frame, steel frame construction have been rehabbed and get some really high-tech businesses in there because it's hip, because it's where the young folks want to live down there. And so the businesses locate there. It's not Clarksburg. It is not Clarksburg. We're not a hip place bustling with a bunch of young people. At least not a bunch of college educated or skilled tradesmen. We're just not. And it's not going to change for the foreseeable future. And it means the demand for office space, the market down there is going to be challenging at best. For the time being, write it off as dead. Yeah, there's a moonshot, a 1 in a million chance some company just decides to move in 500 workers. You can't plan for that. Okay, this is going to be my final slide. I was going to do a summary, but I'm almost pushing 20 minutes already. Shared office space. I don't know whether this is a continuation of the last idea or its own category. But as companies downsize, as more and more people work from home, some companies are saying, we don't even need an office. All we need is a conference room for a weekly meeting or a monthly meeting or conference room now and then. That's what a shared office space is. Small companies that can't afford an office yet might want printers, faxes, scanners, a conference room occasionally. They would locate in a shared office space. There's workers who want to be closer to their home but just can't stand to be in their house every day. I was one of those. I worked from home for 5 years. I made excuses to get out of the house, to try to work from downtown to the extent that I could. I worked in shared office space in Paris when I was on vacation there, and I had to work, but I'd go out at night or early in the morning, whatever, take advantage of the time zone difference. It's an idea that should have happened yesterday, and it could have happened 15 years ago. I know Mr. Tim Genelosi proposed it for the old city hall, and they chose to demolish it instead. A couple of years ago, there was talk of getting a business incubator, which turned into $250,000 handouts to politically connected and other types of individuals, mostly failed businesses. We got rolled. We did not get our incubator. We could have went across the street to the Horner Building and Chase Building, rented out some space, maybe moved a secretary over there. City Economic Development team recouped some of the expense by renting office space out, providing file and print services, things like that. We didn't do it. Maybe we still can. Maybe we can't, but we can encourage it. I'll holler at you later.